Okay, in lesson 33, we're going to talk about the topic of changing percents to fractions. Now, remember what a percent means. If, for example, if there's a, say there that there's a 40% chance of snow. So I'm going to write the percent of 40%. Now, what's this mean if there's a 40% chance of snow? Percent simply means out of 100. So in other words, 40% means 40 out of 100. So in other words, another way you could look at this is, if we're talking about snow, when the conditions have been maybe as they are, that 40 times out of 100 times it's snowed. So again, I'm emphasizing what percent means. It means out of 100. Another example would be if I had 25%. Say that a player in basketball made 25% of their shots. Well, percent again means out of 100. So 25% means 25 out of 100. So for example, with the basketball topic, if a shooter shot 25%, that really means he or she out of 100 shots made 25 of them. Now we're going to go through a couple examples and talk about how we complete changing percents to fractions. Alright, in example 1 it says change 20% to a fraction. Well, we know that percent means out of 100, right? So first of all, we take the percent and we write it out of 100. Now what I mean by finishing this off is we got to make sure this is in simplest form. Or another way of saying this is to reduce the fraction. Now, as you look at 20 and 100, there's a number of ways that I could simplify or reduce or put this fraction into lowest terms. I notice they're both even. I could divide by 2 and continue doing that. Let's do that. So in other words, if I take 20 divided by 2, that's 10. If I take 100 divided by 2, that's 50. Now, I'm not done because again, both these are even numbers. I can divide by 2 again. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. Now I can't divide these by 2, but I could divide them both by 5. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. Oops, need a 1 there. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. So 20 out of 100 is 1/5, or in other words, 20% is the same thing as 1 out of 5. So 20% means that is the same as the fraction or value of 1 over 5. Now I could have placed 20 out of 100 a little faster way. For example, I see that both of them end in zeros. So in other words, I'm going to highlight this. So notice that I've got a 0 here and I've got a 0 here. Well, anytime both numbers end in a 0, I can divide by 10. So 20 divided by 10 is 2, and 100 divided by 10 is 10. Now they're both even. I can now divide both of them by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And notice that I get the same fraction or answer as before. Alright, let's take a look at another example. It says change 75% to a fraction. So again, percent means out of 100. So I first of all start by taking and placing 75 over 100. Now I can't divide them both by 2, but I do see that both of these numbers end in a 0 or 5. Well, if a number ends in a 0 or 5, what can I divide by? And the answer is 5. I can divide both these by 5. So you can take your calculator or paper and pencil, and I take 75 divided by 5, and I believe that's 15. I don't have a calculator in front of me. And I take 100 divided by 5, and that's 20. Now again, both these numbers end in a 0 or a 5. I can divide by 5 again. 15 divided by 5 is 3, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. And now that is in simplest form. I cannot divide 3 and 4 by anything other than 1. So it's in lowest terms. So 75% is the same thing as 3 out of 4, or 3/4. Now, as I look at the example of 75/100ths, I could have done this again a little faster way. I could have divided both these by 25. Because I think of that because, let's see, 75, I think of, hey, 75 cents, there's 3/4. And in 100 cents or $1, there's 4/4. So I can divide both these by 25. 75 divided by 25 is 3, and 100 divided by 25 is 4. And notice again, we get the same answer. So there's different ways to reduce. Let's take a look at one last example. I'm going to take 2% and change it to a fraction. Well, percent means out of 100. Now I notice both these numbers are even. I can divide them both by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. I cannot divide both 100 and 50 by anything other than 1. So this is in simplest form. So the topic here today was changing percents to fractions using the fact that a percent means out of 100.